Sin City. Saturday night. Fight night. Any given weekend, this place is the entertainment capital of the world. When combat sports shines brightest on the Las Vegas Strip. Boxing and mixed martial arts need some new voices. And Franchise Sports Media got them for you. Join Kalani Lua and Griff and Kalani each week as they bring you news and hot takes from inside the octagon and the ring. Get your popcorn ready. It's showtime. FSM's main event starts right now.
What's going on, fight fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the main event right here on Franchise Sports Media. I'm Kalani Lua.
I'm Griff and Kalani.
We are here once again for another edition. Griff, a lot of news has been coming out in the world of combat sports, both inside the octagon and the ring. Let's start with inside the octagon.
Yep.
Dana White comes out, holds a press conference. Took a little while to get to it, but come April, UFC 287. The rematch is on, brother. The 17th time these guys have fought each other, but the second in the UFC, so let's stick to that.
Yep.
Alex Pereira will make his first middleweight title defense against the man he took the belt from, Israel Adesanya. What do you think of this particular matchup before we dive into the other matches that were announced for this card?
Man, Izzy Adesanya finally found his equal. It was a man who was his equal the whole time. They had their history before touching the UFC octagon. But now, after that first fight inside the octagon, watching those two men go 5 rounds and that fantastic ending, I have to tell you, the UFC we UFC fans, we've been gifted. We've been real just taken care of. We've had Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell. We've had Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor. We've had George St. Pierre, Matt Hughes. I'm going to make an early prediction now. This rivalry will top them all. This one will be a showstopper every single time these two men touch the mat. You have their history, their background. Then you have the fantastic fight they had. It's just, it's all in the works, especially the background story. When you think about where both men come from, the absolute animosity they feel for each other. It's beautiful, it's art, and it is something we as UFC fans are going to be having as a gift for a long time.
They've taken this rivalry from the world of kickboxing to now the cage of mixed martial arts. And yes, it has been very entertaining. Their first fight was a fantastic one. Now, yes. Izzy was up on the scorecards 3-1. Almost finished him at the end of round 1.
He did. He was close.
But a tremendous motivational speech before the 5th round. Alex Pereira knows I need to go in there and gets the finish. Gets the finish against Israel Adesanya. One of those were, as an Izzy fan, I understood why you got to protect the fighter. As a referee, you got to protect the fighter. And you got to say, hey, if you're not commonly defending yourself, intelligently defending yourself, I have to stop the card. But you should have let the man go out on his shield. Let the man go down if that's the case. Needless to say, we'll see where this rivalry stands at the end of it with some of the other great ones that you mentioned. Some really good ones on that list. But it is very interesting how their styles very much, as you said, equal each other. For Izzy, more technical, more sound sufficient, more accurate with his strikes, more calculated in his attack. Whereas Pereira is like, yo, I'm coming to wreck shop. I'm coming in like a bowling ball, wrecking ball, whatever, and I'm just knocking buildings out. Don't get me wrong. He's not sloppy. He's not just throwing caution to the wind. But with his power, he knows I can connect and change the course of this fight at any given moment. So for him, let me come forward a little bit more. Let me try to be a little bit more aggressive. That led to Izzy being able to counter him and for the most part, be able to win the fight up until the 5th round. It is so fantastic that the UFC does not take forever to turn these matches around. These guys fought in November. They're now turning around, going to meet in April. It's going to be a fantastic. The location has yet to be determined. But I am thoroughly excited, thrilled, and eager with anticipation when these two step in the octagon one more time. Will they do it a 3rd time? We shall see. But man, oh man, to see Pereira and Izzy part 2, I'm excited.
It's gonna be good. And if you're looking at it, like if you're gonna bet on this fight, you look at their history and people are gonna automatically assume, and I feel like that's been the common thing. That's something a lot of people are starting to believe, that Pereira just has Izzy's number. He's just that guy. There is no answer for Izzy when it comes to this man. But the thing is, like you said, he had that early knock. It looked like he was about to get finished at the end of that first round.
At the end of the first round, yeah, if there's
so
10 more
close.
seconds, Izzy finishes him.
Absolutely. And you see that. And despite Izzy being 0-3 all time, or is it 0-4 or 0-3 against this man and just fighting, just absolute manhandling each other. What is it?
Can we just say Izzy hasn't had a win?
He hasn't had a win.
Can we not
yet.
go over the number of what it is?
Hey, stick with me here, though. Stick with me. Hear me out.
Sorry, Izzy.
I think Izzy Adesanya, it was getting boring. It was getting boring taking your favorite middleweight fighter and pounding him on the ass, all right? He was just getting bored, and it was the same thing. Guys would come in, they would lose. They would go out of there, no belt. So now that this happened to Izzy, I'm sure nobody wants to lose. No, everyone wants to go undefeated. But Izzy needed a challenge. Izzy needed something to step him up and realize, okay, I'm getting stagnant. I'm not the killer I was. I'm not on my game. I'm not fine-tuning every single thing I can. I need to be humbled, and that's exactly what happened to him. And it couldn't have been worse being this man with the history they have. So all that together, I think the Izzy Adesanya that's going to walk out in April is going to be the best version we've seen.
It's definitely something to be said. We've heard from Matt Hughes when he lost to BJ Penn. He said it was a weight off his shoulders. George St. Pierre, technically he didn't lose the welterweight championship, but it got to be so much pressure on him night after night, big show after big show. Kamal Usman, when he lost to Leon Edwards, he said, tell you guys the truth, I kind of feel relieved a little bit. It's a lot, and that's what we say. You got to give these guys and gals their flowers when they are a long-range champion. Because like you said, Griff, it does get to the point where next person up. All right, here we go again. Oh, I've never seen what you gonna present anything. I've never fought someone like you. Wah, wah, wah. I've heard it all before.
Yep.
And yet I prove time and time again, no one's my equal. That's why there's a certain guy that's coming back in May. That's been so phenomenal to watch. Because outside of a couple of hiccups, he really has shown I don't necessarily get bored in here. And the one time I did, it was a great fight.
It was.
But I still beat you. So now to see, you know what? It was a wake-up call. I don't like to say humble because in this sport, it's individual. You got to have a little edge of cockiness to you. You got to have a little of, I'm better than everyone, even if it's not necessarily the case. That's why I don't mind when guys say, I'm the greatest or this and that. You got to go out and prove it, yes. But you got to have that self-confidence and awareness of, I'm invincible. No one can touch me. Sure. But like you said, to lose to this guy that has beaten you 22 other times before, and you're like, what is it that I got to do to finally come out victorious against him? I don't know.
It can really get in your head.
Yes.
Something like that can absolutely disrupt a fighter's confidence, like you said. It can disrupt their ability to perform. It can be, there would just be too much that's in their history that it would be surprising if Izzy wasn't affected just a little bit. But the problem is, but the thing is too, people might say, oh, but Izzy lost to Jan. That was in a complete different weight class. And even though he lost to Jan, that whole fight went 5 rounds, a unanimous decision. It was a grappling match the whole time. It just wasn't as impactful as this. This was his belt. This was his weight class. This was his title to lose, and he lost it to a man who has had his number.
Yes.
So I would just say, though Pereira might look like the better champion here, we have to keep in mind not just what Izzy did, striking and knocking fools out every single Saturday night, but the fact that he tuned his game, coming from a kickboxing world, he tuned his game to go against guys who are going to grapple, guys against who are going to take him down and try and get him that way. They all said that's how you beat him. That's how you're going to beat this guy. He can't grapple. He doesn't know wrestling. He's not part of that world. But he showed he adapted. He was a great long reigning champion, and because of that mindset of his, and because he has the ability to adapt and learn, that's why I give him a more than fair chance in this fight to get that title back.
It is interesting how so many people have seemed to favor Alex Pereira, which, okay, yes, he has beaten Izzy all this time, but up until the finish, Izzy was up on the judges' scorecard 3 rounds to 1.
Yes.
Almost finished him at the end of round 1. If there's 10 more seconds, or Izzy, I don't know, does a Superman punch, maybe he finishes him. So it is one of those where you say it was a wake-up call. It's your biggest rival. It's a chance for you to get redemption, reclaim your throne. Izzy definitely is in a position now, depending where this is located, in the altitude and the time zones and all that, to go out there and set things right. But it's also a chance for Pereira to realize, I can't fight at this high level. I can still beat this dude no matter where we fight. Now that I got my first title fight out the way, let me adjust, because he looked a little stiff early in that fight. He looked like the stage was big, Madison Square Garden, the bright lights, Izzy, my rival. Now he's like, I took this dude's best performance, and I was down, and I still came out and beat him. Now I'm more confident. Now I'm more used to being in the main event where the lights go out when they're doing the introduction. Bruce Buffer's doing the... I'm more used to that now. So now, will Pereira look a little bit different? Will he look a little loose and fluid when they come out? We shall see. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know what else is going to be fun on that card, Griff?
Go ahead.
The co-main event. As of right now, at least, because you never know with the UFC what they're going to throw in there. But right now, the co-main event will be a welterweight clash between Gilbert Burns and Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. Two rivals here down there in Florida, been chirping at each other the last few months, going at it. Hey, let's fight. You're the BMF, the bad motherfucker, and Jorge, I think I'm the bad motherfucker. Let's do it. Brazil, Cuba, South Florida, they meaning, again, I don't know where the UFC 287 is going to be. Burns, Masvidal, initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts are the walls are closing in on Masvidal. It is getting sad to this point, and now we have this fight. Are you serious? Jorge, take the message. Dana don't want you, brother. All right? Not only does he have a 3-fight losing streak, not only is the man 38 years old, cranky 38 years old, he has not had a win since he initially won that BMF title, which was a doctor stoppage loss. Still a loss, still he got a victory, but it was a doctor stoppage on Nate. He hasn't done anything since then, and ever since then, it's been 2 losses to Kamaru, one really bad knockout by Kamaru, and then a loss to Kobe Covington, where Kobe Covington just outshined him in every phase. I mean, and then on top of it all, he's out here on social media calling out Conor McGregor, come fight me. We'll have the biggest pay-per-view fight of all time. Come, hey, I want to fight everybody. Nate, let's run it back. Nate, let's run it back. Then Leon gets his shining moment. Leon Edwards, our standing welterweight champion. He gets that belt. He has that great moment. Jorge just has to poke his head in and say, remember when I punched you backstage? Remember when I did that? My title fight. Let's get a title fight again. Jorge needs to get a win against Gilbert Burns, and it could not be against a worse opponent, because last time we saw him again, Kobe had just manhandled him on the mat. It was not good. He even came out after and said that was something he was going to work on. That was something important to him. He had to get better in the ground game. But now we're going to see him against Gilbert Burns, who just, what was it, a couple weeks ago? Maybe. A couple weeks ago. He just absolutely got the fight done with in one
Neil
round.
Magny made him look very poor on the ground.
He manhandled Neil Magny, and then he comes out and says, "Oh, I grappled because my wife doesn't want me to. Told me not to throw any punches. You don't want me to get messed up." Something goofy, but it stands to reason that Gilbert Burns, he is a great grappler. He is a great wrestler. When he gets down on the mat, he's right up there. He trained with Kamaru Usman. There's always messages out there where they're saying Kamaru and Gilbert Burns, they're so close in the training room. They're grappling, they're wrestling. Is Jorge going to get this done? Because this is a must-win.
So Jorge, as you pointed out, has not had a clear-cut victory.
Not a victory
in quite some time. Last one was a doctor stoppage.
Yes.
While a victory, not the cleanest that you would want to have, even though it was a dominant performance against Nate Diaz. He's lost 3 in a row, chirping a lot, talking a lot. He needs to get a victory if you think you still need to be in that class of Dana. You're one of Dana's favorites, right?
Favorites, or at least being in consideration of the title.
Sounds very familiar to a former Irish fighter that hasn't won a fight in quite some time, has lost 3 in a row, got a brutal knockout, got manhandled in the grappling department in another one in the biggest UFC fight of all time. He hasn't won anything, and guess what? He hasn't won a title in almost a decade. If you think about it, in almost a decade. In a couple years, it'll be 10 years since you held up any UFC gold, whether it was fictional, made up, or just created at the spot of the moment, just so Madison Square Garden could have a title on the line. Very interesting how one fighter who's on a losing streak hasn't looked impressive in his last couple of outings, been getting knocked around, grappled with, and all this, but he makes all this noise outside the cage, all this noise on social media. Funny how you, Griff, say, well, this guy needs to work. There's something he needs to get a victory. But then when there's a certain other guy that apparently can't even ride a bicycle correctly now, when he's out there doing it, that's what it is. It's the double champ. It's the, hold on.
I'm sorry, the what? What was that name you just gave him?
First
the
off,
double champ. 2 belts compared to Jorge Masvidal's, what is that? The tin belt? The tin man belt?
Check the dates on those. Check the dates on those. If I'm not mistaken, those might have been the original UFC belts that King Shamrock won, considering how long ago it was.
Iconic belt, better looking than the belts today, I'd say.
Nah. Well, that's debatable. It's all. Look, things are bound to change. Nonetheless, it's just we're not necessarily talking so much about Conor right now. We'll get into that later. But what I'm saying is, it is funny how it's perceived. 2 fighters with very similar resumes right now, and yet one of them you'll defend to no end. The other one, well, he needs to get a victory. Now, for Jorge, he does need a victory.
Yes.
Because he's a tremendous fighter, tremendous talent, and he's done a great job in marketing himself. But it is somebody, now granted, one of his losses to Kamaru Usman was on 6 days' notice, where he had to lose the weight and come in on 6 days' notice. It's like, hey, guys, I'm stepping in because of an injury to somebody. The knockout lost to him, no excuses. I had a full training camp. I got ready. I prepared more for wrestling than I did for striking. Kamaru just caught me. The Colby Covington one, look, we've seen with rivalries, guys that you despise and hate. We've seen several times throughout the UFC existence.
History, yeah.
Guys, for whatever reason, don't show up that night. We've seen it a lot, whether the guys got knocked out or submitted or dragged out. When you have a personal vendetta against somebody, sometimes you're able to pull it out, like Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen. Chael dominated every single aspect of that fight up until the last 20 seconds. So it's one of the, even in the second fight, Chael Sonnen had his moments in that one against Anderson Silva. Anderson was able to get up the victories though, so it looks, history kind of remembers it a little bit differently. But time and time again, when you have a bitter rivalry against somebody on a personal level, we often see one of the fighters not show up the night of the fight, which is unfortunate. Now for Jorge, you're right, he is taking on someone in Gilbert Burns that has shown, if you want to stand up, I could bang with you. You want to grapple, I'm gonna make you look silly out there. Oh, and if you want to go 3 rounds, 5 rounds, 20 rounds, I got the cardio to do so. So it is a bad matchup, but it is one where you say, this is kind of where you say, for Jorge, if he wins, I can still fight and beat the elite guys. If he doesn't, you do have to start looking at, do we need to start matching you up with guys a little bit lower down the rankings on non-pay-per-view cards? Because again, Jorge's a big name still. He's still going to draw in good numbers. And you're right, with his age, but you want to squeeze as much out of it as you can. Is this the last little bit of juice that the UFC is trying to squeeze out of him? Or does Jorge have one more run in him?
Well, you said it beautifully. Jorge, this is a must-win. Because when you have a career where you didn't win 2 belts at the same time, where the only championship title you can claim was one that was made up on the spot and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson put around your waist. These are not accomplishments that make you stay long in the UFC, brother. You need to do more. And now, right now, your boss, big man, Dana White, he and the heads of the UFC are putting you up against this man, Gilbert Burns, because they are sending you a message. We need you to either make an incredible turnaround, or we might just need to see you pack your bags and we'll bring you into the Hall of Fame maybe 10 years down the line.
Do you think Jorge is a Hall of Famer? I want to cut you off, good. Do you think Jorge is a Hall of Famer?
I'm glad you asked. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think but I will say this, he has had an iconic career. Don't take anything away from him.
Not
He
at
is
all.
game, but he is a great, phenomenal fighter. But the thing is, it's just been a career where a little bit of a journeyman for the most part in the beginning. Then he has this absolute turnaround. And
that
it lasts.
flying knee to Ben Askren.
Ben Askren.
Boy, let me tell you. Now,
Ooh-wee.
granted, it started before that. The knockout of Darren Till, the finish of Donald Cowboy Cerrone in Colorado. Like, it was things before that happened.
It led up.
The 2 or 3 piece in a soda to Leon Edwards backstage. There were things that happened before, but that flying knee to Ben Askren, the rivalry that they had in the knockout there, that's what catapulted him into this mega stardom.
Absolutely. I just think he's a great fighter. It's just hard to say Hall of Fame. You gotta at least win a title, bro. Just one title.
Okay, hold on.
Interim?
No, Stephen Bonner got near off the fight. I might have to look through the list because there's got to be somebody on there who didn't win a title. I might have to look at the UFC Hall of Fame list. Because I'm trying to think right now if there's any fighters in there who haven't won a title. And I give you that right now, just thinking of everyone. And like you said, maybe it's like 10 years down the road. Maybe he's one of those guys where, and this is something I kind of wish the UFC kind of did, don't put you in right away when you retire.
I don't like that either.
Give it about 2-3 years maybe. Pro wrestling does it as well, where if you retire like the next year, you're in the Hall of Fame. Whereas in football, basketball, it's like 5 years. Because then in a way, we get to, how can I say, we get to, in a sense, forget some of the negativity that was around, some of the, oh, that wasn't my favorite fighter. And then when you look back, you're like, shoot, this guy actually was good. Like right now, right? Like your boy. We know how popular Conor McGregor is. But right now, a lot of the other negativity is out there, is also at the forefront. Antics. But if he was away for 5 years from the sport, kind of like Ronda Rousey, I'll use Ronda Rousey as an example. Look at Ronda Rousey. She's gone for a little bit. When they announced her Hall of Fame, it's more of a, hey, right on. Now, it's a little bit bitter for some fans because it's like, you know, Ronda, we love you. Yes, you've lost some bouts. You've lost some bouts. But that's part of the game. No one goes through this undefeated. Unless you're John Bones Jones. We'll get into that later. Yep. But it will be interesting to see if Jorge can get the victory, or at least how he looks. Because I'm one of these types, Griff. I won't necessarily knock you if you lose in a top competition if you're competitive, because it's top competition. We see it in golf, tennis. You can't beat everybody. So if you're competitive and it's like close losses here and there, I'll give you that. But if you get, like we said, like you said too, knocked out viciously, dominated in this one area consistently, yeah, it's a little bit different. So hopefully for Jorge, if he loses, at least be competitive. If not, gotta start moving down the ladder.
I'll make it real quick. I'll ask you this, brother. What does this really do for Gilbert Burns if he gets a victory?
This, I truly believe, with the win over Neil Magny and over Gamebred, because of his popularity, I think it puts Gilbert Burns back in that conversation for, I need to fight the number one contender. Whoever that is at the moment. Hamzat, Colby Covington, whoever it is, I need to have a rematch with Hamzat, or I need to fight Colby again to get back to the title. Yeah. Whatever it is, but this puts me now, if I win, this puts me in position to say number one contenders bout for the title.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit here. This is going to be a little bit difficult, only because we've been hearing this for the last 37 years. But we'll see if this finally happens. In the world of boxing, Jake Paul. That's right. Jake Paul is back out there, folks. He will be taking on Tommy Fury, the younger brother of Tyson Fury.
Tommy.
They were supposed to fight 3, 4, 5, 18, 29, 42 other times before. Somebody, I'm not going to say who, the younger brother of the heavyweight champion, kept pulling out. So now, he just had a fight this past week. He just had a showing this past weekend. They both get in the ring, have a stare down with each other.
Yep.
They announced that they are going to fight 26th of February in Saudi Arabia. Okay. But in the world in which we're seeing celebrity boxes or YouTubers get in the boxing ring, again, Jake Paul and even his brother Logan, when he steps into the world of professional wrestling, they have shown a commitment to the sport. Like them or not, they at least go out there and try to give you a legit showing. It's not so much of a gimmicky, oh, there's flying chairs in there, and then I'm coming out with a tiger, and there's no, they legit go out there and look, say what you want. Jake Paul has shown, I'll knock out Ben Askren, I'll knock out Tyron Woodley, I'll drop Nate Robinson, I'll drop Anderson Silva. That was tough to watch, only because you really thought Anderson Silva was a true test because he's a legit middleweight, light heavyweight type guy, not a blown up welterweight or basketball player. Now he's taking on an actual boxer. Now, say what you want about Tommy Fury. He's got 8 wins, no losses, 4 knockouts, 4 decisions. The younger brother, Jiu-Jitsu King Tyson Fury. It's one of these matchups, Griff, where if you lose, your career is pretty much over with. What say you about Paul Fury?
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, man. This has been 4 times now. We have not gotten to see these two guys enter the ring and actually box and actually back up all this crazy, stupid little YouTuber talk that gets videotaped and posted onto the Twitters and the Instagrams. Why should I care? Why should I care about this fight? If I was talking to the promoter, that's the first question I would ask. Why should I care? Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, not Tyson, not even Tyson Fury's father, who I think him versus Paul would be a better fight. All right, Tommy Fury is just name alone. He 8-0 record, fantastic. You know what other boxers start off undefeated and avoid all these fighters? A lot of them, all right? They avoid it. They try to, you gotta start off 8-0 or else you don't even get to have a boxing career.
No, this is true. The world of boxing is different than mixed martial arts. You generally don't hear about fighters till they're about 18, 19, 20 and 0.
Yes.
Because they've been fighting tomato cans. I get that. But nonetheless, here we are.
But nonetheless, even if Jake Paul wins, what does that do for his career? He's talking about fighting Canelo. He's talking about fighting real guys in this sport. But how is this getting you there? Oh, what is it now? He's a real boxer. Everyone who puts on a pair of boxing gloves, takes a class, calls himself a real boxer.
No,
All
but
right?
hold on, Griff. I'm gonna push you back just a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Jake Paul 6-0 with 4 knockouts against MMA fighters and a basketball player. This is the first guy whose actual career record is legit and only in boxing. This is not an actor. This is not a basketball player. This is not somebody from another sport. This is not a mixed martial arts fighter that's trying out boxing. This is a guy who is a boxer. And yeah, early in your career, well, who is Tommy Fury face? But then Jake Paul's like, well, look, I'm taking a different path and showing you there's another way to become famous in boxing. Think about this, Griff. Jake Paul's had bigger fights against these non-boxers than some of the elite guys. Some of their numbers don't compare necessarily to Jake Paul's. Now that's debatable where you want to look at it, but this always gets mentioned. Jake Paul, okay, if I'm 6-0, what do you want me to do? You want me to fight somebody who's 42-1? No, that's later. But if I fight Tommy Fury, the brother of the Gypsy King, guess who's going to be ringside when I fight him? Tyson Fury. That's more eyes to it. Like you said, the dad, Tyson, they're gonna be in the corner of Tommy. My brother's gonna be in my corner. Possibly other celebrities gonna be there as well. This is one of those fights where you say, okay, at least now he's taking on a legit boxer, somebody who has boxing experience. There are promoters who say, I got guys in the amateur ranks who will beat you right now. And Jake's always said, okay, give me somebody comparable to where I'm at. Don't give me somebody who's got 19 fights already. Give me somebody that's got under 10 fights and I'll beat them. Well, this is somebody who has under 10 fights. That has a little bit of a name based off of his brother. Okay. Look, you can't help it that Tommy Fury hasn't taken this sport seriously like Tyson Fury has. But at the end of the day, if I'm Jake Paul, I'm taking on the brother of the world heavyweight champion. I'm gonna knock his ass out.
That's fantastic, and I hope he does. But here's the thing, brother. Where do you go from there? All right, if we're looking at the career of Jake Paul and this format he's made, where it's celebrity boxing, it's the YouTuber boxing, and honestly, he is the top. He sets the standard for that whole realm. It goes through Jake Paul. But the thing is, when it comes to this with the Tommy Fury, yeah, give him a fighter, get him a boxer who's around that same, like you said, 10 fights and under. But it's his whole brand, all these fights, the reason they've also been getting the numbers and being successful. Nate Robinson's not a boxer, but he's Nate Robinson who's about to get in there and box Jake Paul. That's a side circus everyone wanted to see. Then you got, Ben Askren. That's a real fighter. This guy's a YouTuber still, though. We're good with that. Or that's going to be interesting. We'll watch. Then that happens. Ben Askren and then Tyron Woodley, and they both showed guys who go from UFC to boxing once they retire from MMA doesn't always go great. And then he faces a man who actually showed it could go great in Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva and him, I'll give them props. That was fantastic. I enjoyed that.
And what happened in all those bouts?
He won.
Exactly.
Yeah, he won.
And in 3 of them, he won by fantastic, devastating, bone-crushing knockouts.
Yes, but what
memes galore. Highlight reels. Those knockouts was on ESPN. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Yes.
Guess what? How many highlights of Tommy Fury is out there?
Zip.
How many boxing highlights of any of those other guys are out there?
Zip.
But guess who does have them? Jake. And so guess what? Where does he go from here? Anywhere he wants to. Tell your boy.
No, boy.
Hey, tell the Irishman, eat some more cabbage and corned beef. Step on up if you want to. Guess what he just did? He just signed with the PFL, the Professional Fighters League.
That's great.
Guess what he's going to do? Oh, Nate Diaz.
Oof. That would be
1-1.
beautiful.
One boxing match with Nate Diaz. We know Nate Diaz has trained boxing. He's trained with Andre Ward, greatest light heavyweight of all time. So guess what? Let's do one boxing match. X amount of months later, let's do an MMA bout. I'm game with it. Look, I was very much against the whole Jake Paul, Logan Paul thing, getting into boxing. But at the same time, you gotta admit, they're not backing away from much competition within their lane. They're not, they're not trying to fight Roy Jones Jr. or somebody who's just far and away superior than them. They're trying to fight guys within their lane. But they're also not backing down either. You got to say, well, he wants to fight Canelo one day. Why shouldn't you want to fight Canelo someday? You're like, dude, if I'm coming in here with millions of fans from YouTube, my own brand already. So I'm not going to go the traditional route of 400 amateur bouts, go to the Olympic trials, then work my way up another 20, 30 bouts before I get there. No. I'm going to build my name and brand and try to get here. Now, whether he fights Canelo one day or not, we'll see. His brother did fight Floyd Mayweather. So at the same time, it's like, hey, who's to say someday I don't fight Conor McGregor? Nate Diaz would be huge. Who's to say I don't fight some of these other guys, sons, younger brothers as well? Hasim Rahman, I was going to take on Hasim Rahman's son, Junior. I was going to take him on, but he couldn't make weight. That's another guy I could take on. So there are options out there for him. Guess what? If you're an actor or an athlete from another sport, we saw Le'Veon Bell knock out Adrian Peterson. But what if Le'Veon Bell, who showed some decent promise in that, what if he has another bout, wins, looks impressive? Hey man, you're 2-0. Let's fight. You got some knockout power like I do. Let's go at it. It's another way for these guys to go out there, keep their name in it, still be competitive, still go out there and fight, and put on some fantastic show. I wouldn't necessarily say fantastic, but they're going out there and trying, which is better than what a lot of people could do as opposed to being keyboard warriors. They're going out there and trying it.
That's true, but I'm telling you, the format that he has and what he's laid out, what he shows is successful, is it's got to be a big name aside from him. He's got to have a dancing partner, and that dancing partner's got to bring something. For this fight coming up, Tommy, all he brings is his last name. And when after that, that's why I asked, where does he go from here? Because unless he can find someone out there that fits the mold, that helps moves a little bit into boxing, which he says he wants to be a great boxer and fight Canelo, but great boxers don't sign on and try to fight MMA during their careers. It takes full focus to be a real champion.
Floyd Mayweather did.
You don't say.
He did.
Yeah?
Yeah. How'd that work out for him?
Oh, well, that wasn't an MMA fight, though, was it?
No, but at the same time,
Fought an
that's
MMA
another
fighter.
But also, there's nothing to say that I can't be a trendsetter. There's nothing. In fact, James Toney went and had an MMA bout.
That's interesting.
He did. Now, granted, he got dominated by Randy Couture. Guys have tried it. They don't try it because they're scared of the grappling department. This guy, Jake Paul, is saying, I'm young enough to say, I'll try it. I'm not going to wait till I'm in my mid to late 30s, early 40s to try. I'll try when I'm in my 20s. See how it goes. Granted, it's not going to be fun taking late kicks in the grappling department, but I'll give it a go. You got to give these guys credit. They are at least trying it. Successful or not. Logan Paul was just in the Royal Rumble. He's trying it. I don't know if one day he's going to be the guy to be the world heavyweight champion in WWE, but he has shown I'm athletic enough and I could buy into this world enough, just like Ronda Rousey, outside of being on the mic, that I can do this as a physical capabilities here. Where I go with it, we'll see. But I'm at least trying it. I gotta give him kudos to that.
Give him kudos.
Give him their flowers while you can now, Griff.
Yes, sir.
Well, Griff, we got to wrap it up, man, but it's been another great show.
Yes, sir.
As always, my man. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of The Main Event right here on Franchise Sports Media. I've been Kalani Lua.
I'm Griff and Kemp.
You guys make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Till next time, fight fans. Peace.